to Mathematics Tour. This is the 8th video and the last one in the playlist. In this video, I will solve 10 questions from Igcse Mathematics past papers. If you are seeing this channel for the first time, please kindly subscribe to my channel by clicking on the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to receive a notification anytime I upload a new video. Also, like, comment and share this video. Let's jump into the 10 questions. This is the first one. Without using a calculator, work out 5 out of 9, subtract 1 out of 6. You must show all your working and give your answer as a fraction in its simplest form. So you already know the 4 methods you could use to do this. You can use any method of your choice and you still get the same answer. So for me, I'll try to make use of common denominator. So I'll have 5 out of 9. So I'll have by 6 here and by 6. Then subtract 1 out of 6. Then by 9. Then by 9 here. So this will give me 30 out of 54. Then subtract. This will give me 9 out of 54. Since they have common denominator, that implies that I can subtract the numerators directly. So that will be 30 subtract 9 out of 54. And this will give me 21 out of 54. So from what you can see here, 3 can go in the numerator and the denominator. 3 goes in 21. That will be 7 times. And 3 goes in 5 once. I mean the 2, you put it here, that makes 24. 3 goes in 24, that will be 8. So that means I have 7 out of 18. So that will be the final answer here. Let's go to the next question. That's the second one. So in this question, we are to evaluate this. So the first thing we need to do is to write this mixed number as an improper fraction. That will be 8 multiplied by 2, that will be 16. 16 add 1, that will be 17. So this is the same thing as 17 out of 8 multiplied by 6 out of 17. So what you can easily do here, you can reduce this conveniently. So let's see like this, 17 and 8, there is no number that can go. Let's check the second fraction, 6 and 17. There's no number that can go. So let's check the diagonals. So 17 here once, 17 here once. So let's check the second diagonal. So 2 goes in 6 3 times, 2 goes in 8 4 times. So you have 1, 3, 1 and 4 left. So you can multiply directly. 1 by 3, that's the numerators. Then 4 by 1, that is the denominators. So this will give us 3 out of 4. So our final answer will be 3 out of 4. Let's go to the third one. Without using a calculator, work out 1 out of 3 divided by 7 out of 6. Add 1 out of 5. You must show all your working and give your answer as a fraction in its simplest form. We have more than one operation here. We have division and then addition. So by using board mass, so we have to make use of division first, then we go to addition. So that means we have to firstly simplify 1 out of 3 divided by 7 out of 6. So this is what we are doing first. But mind you, it is better to repeat 1 out of 5, even though we are not going to touch it. So to solve this division, then you have to change it to what? Multiplication. Immediately you do that, 6 goes up and 7 comes down. So you have 6 out of 7. Then add 1 out of 5. So we have multiplication now, which also comes before addition. So I can say 1 times 6. So 1 by 6 out of 3 by 7. That is, I multiplied the numerators and the denominators respectively. Then add 1 out of 5. So this will give me 6 out of 21. Add 1 out of 5. So I can reduce this. 3 goes in 6 2 times. 3 goes in 21. That's 7 times. So that means I have 2 out of 7. Then add 1 out of 5. So I can now proceed to simplify this. So using another method, also let's multiply 7 by 5. That will be 35. So 35 divided by 7, that will be 5. 5 times 2, that will be 10. Then add 35 divided by 5, that will be 7. 7 times 1, that will be 7. So this will give me 17 out of 35. Okay, and that will be the final answer, 17 out of 35. So mind you, for this addition, I made use of LCM method. You can use any convenient method and you still get the same thing. So this is the fourth one, and we are, without using a calculator, work out 5 out of 6 divided by 1 whole, 1 out of 3. You must show all your working and give your answer as a fraction in its simplest form. So the first thing we need to do is to write this mixed fraction as an improper fraction. That will be 5 out of 6. Then divided by 3 times 1, that will be 3. 3 add 1, that will be 4. You have 4 out of 3. Then the next thing we need to do is to change this division sign to sign of multiplication. That will be 5 out of 6, then multiplied by. Immediately you change this to multiplication sign. 3 goes up and 4 comes down. Then if you look at 5 and 6, nothing can go. 3 and 4, nothing can go. So if you look at the diagonals, 3 goes in 3 once, 3 goes in 6 twice, and there's nothing. So we are left with 5 by 1 out of 2 by 4, and that will give you 5 out of 8. That will be the final answer. Let's go to the next question. That is example 5. We are to increase 42 by 16%. So we have 2 ways of doing this. So let's firstly find the increase. To get the increase, so you need to write the percentage as a fraction. That will be 16 out of 100, then multiplied by 42. So that will be the increase. So if you take your calculator, you can do 16 times 42, then divided by 100 straight away. So if you do that, that will give you 6.72. So that is the increase. So if you increase 42 by 16%, that means the new value, the new number, okay, so will be 42 add 6.72, and this will give us nothing but what? 48.72. So if you increase 42 by 16%, so it will turn to 48.72. So this is one method. Okay, alternatively, you can say at 100%, so you have 42. That means when you are yet to increase it, so 42 is at 100. That means 42 is at 100%. So if you increase it by 16, that means from 100%, it will go to 116%. So what will be the number if that happens? So let's say x. So we need to cross multiply. So we're going to have 100% times x to be equals to 42 by 116%. So let's divide both sides by 100 to get the value of x. 100 will cancel 100 here. We are left with x equals to, so if you take your calculator and press this to give you 48.72 as your answer directly. So anyone you use is okay. If you use this method, it will give you your answer straight away, but here you just have to firstly find the increase, then add it to the original number to get the new number. So let's go to the next question. That will be the sixth one. Without using a calculator, work out 3 whole, 5 out of 8, then subtract 1 whole, 2 out of 3. So you can use any method of your choice. So the first thing we need to do is to subtract the whole numbers. So I will say 3 subtract 1. So we have subtracted the whole numbers. Then we are left with, let me put this in bracket, then we are left with 5 out of 8 subtract 2 out of 3. So this will give me 2 whole. Then you cannot use any method to do this. But for me, I will use elsewhere method. That is LCM of 8 and 3 is 24. Then 24 divided by 8, that will be 3. 3 times 5, that will be 15. Subtract 24 divided by 3, that will be 8. 8 times 2, that will be 16. Interesting. Look at what we have here. When you have an expression like this, so there are different ways or approaches you can apply to this and you still get your answer. Okay, let me show you some approaches. The first one is to go with this expression the way it is. So that means I'm going to have 2 whole, then 15 subtract 16, that will be negative 1 out of 24. So the next thing you need to do is to try to write this as an improper fraction. So by saying 24 times 2, that will be 48. 48 add negative 1, that will be 47. So that means it will be 47 out of 24. So that is what we're going to get here. And if you do this, of course, this will be 1 whole. Okay, because 24 goes there in 47 ones. It's almost 2, but it is short of 1. So that means we'll be left with 23 out of 24. So this will be the final answer. So I need to take it again from this place and see another approach if you don't want to do it like this. Okay, so you can say you have 2 whole, then 15 subtract 16 out of 24. So another approach is to borrow 1 from this whole number, which is 2. So if you borrow 1 from 2, you'll be left with 1 whole. So now the one you borrowed is equivalent to your denominator. So the denominator here is 24. That means I have borrowed 24. So that 24, I will add it to this number here. Okay, so that means I'm going to have 24 add 15, then subtract 16 out of 24. Okay, so this will, let's scroll down a little bit. So this will give us 1 whole. So if you add 24 to 15, of course, that will give you 39. To give you 39, then subtract 16 out of 24. So if you subtract 16 out of 39, see 39 subtract 16. So 9 take away 6, that will be 3. Then 3 take away 1, that will be 2. So that means we're going to have 1 whole, 23 out of 24. You can see that we still have the same answer as what we got here. So that is how to deal with questions like that. So our final answer is 1 whole, 23 out of 24. So alternatively, if you don't want to do it like this, you can firstly write the two fractions as improper fractions. Then you use any method of your choice. Okay, so the choice is yours. Let's go to the next question. Without using a calculator, work out 4 whole, 1 out of 8, then subtract 2 whole, 5 out of 6. Okay, so I'll subtract the whole numbers. 4 subtract 2, then I can put it in brackets. Then I have 1 out of 8, then subtract 5 out of 6. 4 subtract 2, that will be 2 whole. Then I can now use any method to solve this expression here. So let's use common denominator. So that will be 1 out of 8, that will be by 6 by 6. Then subtract 5 out of 6, then by 8 by 8. So if we do this, this will give us 2 whole, then 6 out of 48, then subtract 5 times 8, that will be 40 out of 48. Okay, so we can now subtract the numerators directly. So that will be 2 whole, then 6 subtract 40 out of 48. So earlier on the previous page, I showed you the two approaches you can use to do this. Okay, so I'll just borrow one from this whole this time around. I'm using this approach. So let's borrow one from these two whole number. So we'll be left with one whole number. Don't forget that the one I borrowed is equivalent to the denominator here. So that means I borrowed 48. So I have 48 add 6, then subtract 40, then everything over 48. So that will be 1 whole. 48 add 6, that will be 54. Subtract 40 out of 48. So this will give me 1 whole. So 54 subtract 40, that will be 14 out of 48. So what can go? You can see that 2 can go. So if you say 2 goes in 14, that will be 7. Then 2 goes in 4, that will be 2. Then 2 goes in 8, that will be 4. So the final answer will be 1 whole, 7 out of 24. So 1 whole, 7 out of 24. So that is the final answer. So let's go to the 8th question. So here we are asked to write 2 to the power of -4 as a decimal number. So 2 to the power of -4, this in index form is the same thing as 1 out of 2 to the power of 4. And this is the same thing as 1 out of, so 2 multiplied by itself 4 times, 2 by 2, 4, 4 by 2, 8, 8 by 2, that will be 16. So now we need to write 1 out of 16 as a decimal number. You can make use of the long division method. Okay, so or you can easily divide it directly, or you can just take your calculator since it is just only 1 mark. Okay, so you just press your calculator and it will give you your answer. So this will give you 0.0625. Okay, but alternatively, if you want to do this without using your calculator, so let me just show you. You can just say 1 out of 16. 16 goes in 1, so that is impossible. You write 0 and put a decimal point here, so you add 0 here. 16 goes in 10, that is impossible, so you add another 0 here and immediately you add another 0 here. So 16 goes in 100. So if you don't have calculator, how can you get it? You can just say that 20 goes in 100, that is 5 times, but you just use 20, so that means you used a number that is 4 more than 16. So 4 can still go in 4 in 5 times, that would be like 20. That means 16 can still go in it one more time, so we'll say it is 6. So because if you do 16 times 6, so let's do it here. 16 times 6, 6 times 6, 36, you write 6, you keep 3. 6 times 1, that is 6, plus the 3 you kept, that is 9. So you have 96, so that means you have remainder 4. Okay, so you keep on adding 0 until you stop. Okay, so we have remainder 4. So let's add 0 again, and once you have a number here, with as in a non-zero digit here, so you don't need to add 0 again to our answer here. So 16 goes in 40, how many times? If you take it as 20, okay, so 20 goes in 40, that will be 2 times. But this is 16, so that means we're going to be left with what? We'll be left with 8. So that means it will be 2 times, okay, and that will be remainder 8. Okay, so if you add 0 to this, okay, then 16 goes in 80, how many times? So if you take 16 to be 20, that means it will be 4 times. but you have 4 in 4 places. That is 16. That means 16 can still go one more time. So that will be 5. Okay, so this is how you can do this without using a calculator. So let's go to the next question. Work out 85 cents as a percentage of $2.03. So you need to be very careful. This one is in cents and this one is in dollars. So they must be in the same unit before you can write it as before you could write one as a percentage of the other. So I'll try to leave the two in cents. So this will be 85 cents over, then to convert $2.03 to cents, so you shift the decimal point to the front 2 times. So like you have 2.03, then shift the decimal point forward 2 times, 1 and 2. That means you're going to have 203. So you're going to have 203 cents. That's the equivalent in cents. Then multiply by 100%. Okay. So you can just take your calculator and do 85 by 100 divided by 203. That will give you your answer, simply because this is just 1 mark, so you don't need to waste your time here. So this will give you 41.9%. Okay, so that is what you're going to get. So let's look into the last question here. Without using a calculator, work out 4 out of 5 divided by 2 whole, 2 out of 3. So the first thing we need to do is to write this mixed fraction as an improper fraction. So that will be divided by 3 times 2, 6. 6 add 2, that will be 8. So we have 8 out of 3. Then the next thing we need to do is to write this division as multiplication. When you do that, 3 goes up and 8 comes down. So if you check, there's something that can go in 4 and 5. There's nothing that can go in 3 and 8. So if you check the diagonals, 4 goes in 4 once, 4 goes in 8 2 times. So that means we have 1 by 3 over 5 by 2, and that will be 1 by 3, that will be 3 over 5 times 2, that will be 10. So the final answer is 3 out of 10. So this is the end of this video. Earlier in this playlist, I promised you a video on Egyptian fraction. So I will make a video on Egyptian fractions and still upload it inside this playlist. That will make it 9.